our live Facebook feeds here at the Bridge and Living Museum. I'm Patricia Larnuk, I'm the aquarium curator. What you were just looking at was actually our live adult Artemia brine, which we'll be feeding to our seahorses. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, which we feed to our seahorses 3 times a day. And I'm going to hop in the fridge here, up in our aquarium food prep area, and you can see we have food prep ready for tomorrow, and I guess I can show you a little bit of that while we're here. This is our typical daily day box, and it's cut up really neatly to feed out to all of the exhibits that eat every day. You got a mix of more mysis shrimp and gel diet, and then chopped up squid and capelin and whatever else the preparer has made for that day. So I'm gonna close this up and get some mysis shrimp that we prepare every other day or so from a frozen flat pack from Piscine Energetics, and then we rinse it out and give it to all the animals. This is very highly enriched, and it's actually just teeny tiny pieces of shrimp. Like that's a whole shrimp right there, and it's very popular in the aquarium trade, very good and nutritious for all of our animals. So why don't you follow me out to our seahorse exhibit. Oh, gotta grab my feeding pole. Right next to our touch tank here, if you guys have been here before. If not, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and pour in the live food to get them kind of invigorated here. And then I'm going to take my feeding pole that I grabbed earlier and lead it down to this feeding shell and drop the food in. So the food will drop down into this shell that they're trained to actually eat out of, so that the food doesn't go underneath the substrate and add any unnecessary bacteria to the exhibit. So the seahorses are actually lined up waiting for this food to fall, and also chowing down on some live shrimp in the meantime. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask away.
Emily Barr asks, how many different kinds of seahorses do you have?
That's a really great question, Emily. There's only one kind of seahorse that we have, actually. There's only one species of seahorse that is native to Virginia. It's called the Lined Seahorse. And if you look in here, it looks like I have different kinds because they're all different colors, but they're actually all the same kind.
There you go.
We also have in this exhibit, you might be looking at some pipefish. They are a cousin of the seahorse, and there's several types of pipefish in the area. Here I'm pulling away the pole, and hopefully they'll come around.
From Jarrah Clark, Eli age 7 and Nasser age 3. How do you train them to eat out of the shell, and how long did it take?
It didn't take very long at all, actually. All I did was start putting food in the shell, just like you would put your dog's food in a bowl. They just come right to it. We used to kind of broadcast it out with the live food, and it would get caught up in the shells down below. But now we just kind of put it in the station, and they come to eat it on their own. Looks like we've got some more questions here. Evelyn, age 6, wants to know, do they drink anything or just eat? Well, since they live in the water, they don't really drink. They actually breathe the oxygen that's in the water, but they don't drink anything, no. And then looks like Tyler wants to know, do they have bones? They do have bones. These are fishes, actually. They're the only fish that swims upright, as you can see, and they're very bony. What are their names? From Bryce, age 6. I have too many seahorses to name them all, unfortunately to say. Graham, age 5, wants to know about how the seahorses care for their babies. They actually don't. Once they're born, so the female will actually deposit her eggs inside of the male's pouch, and then the male, this guy here that you're looking at, you can see he's got quite a pouch going now, will fertilize the eggs from the inside, and then once they're ready to hatch out, they will hatch, and then they're on their own. Looks like Lydia, age 6, do they have live birth? They do have live birth, and yes, they do change color. You can see this male is actually trying to woo this female for some reason, even though she's trying to eat. They can change color, so these guys are kind of pale. That guy in the back there is really dark, and the one in the far back is yellow, and they kind of change color to blend in with their environment, but also to kind of communicate with each other. Looks like Mackenzie's asking, how do you tell the boys from the girls? That's a really easy thing to do, actually. So here, back at the feeding station, I have a male and a female. The female is on the left in the front here, and if you look at her tummy, she just has kind of, it's bony and then ends. And then the male actually has a soft pouch, which he's turning away, you can't really see right now, but when it comes about, you can see it there. Kevin would like to know how you tell the male from the female. Like I said, the male has a pouch. It's the easiest way to tell. Let's see if I can swing around and look at this other male here. There, see that guy's got a really kind of soft belly, and this female here, the yellow one, does not. Clara, age 5, wants to know, how do seahorses kiss? Well, they don't really kiss. It kind of looks like it because they have these tiny little sucker mouths, but they're not really kissing. Kai, age 9, how big are the newborn seahorses? They're really tiny. They can have anywhere between 50 to a couple hundred at a time, and they gotta be really small. So ordinarily they're about the size of the brine shrimp swimming around. The only difference is they look exactly like a seahorse. All right, looks like Tyler, age 10, wants to know how far can they swim? They don't swim very far. They can probably swim as far as they need to, but they don't really go that far. Jumbled down there a little bit. They kind of stick around grasses and oyster beds, ropes and cages and stuff, and try and stay in the same area as best as they can. And then in the winter time, they'll kind of move out to just deeper water, but they don't go very far, and they're not very fast at all either. Why are seahorses' tails swirly? Well, that's a great question. They have a prehensile tail, kind of like a possum or a monkey, so that they can attach to stuff. They attach to seagrass and corals and ropes, which is why this exhibit has a lot of grasses and this fun rope here, chunks of coral and whatnot for them to kind of wrap around, and that helps them stand upright. Eleanor wants to know, how many times a year do they have babies? They can actually have babies as many times as they want. These guys in exhibit will only have babies about 2, maybe 3 times a year, depending on how they feel personally. Let's see, we've got a lot of questions coming in. So Tegan wants to know, how long do they live? Well, in the wild, they really only live about 2 to 4 years. They don't live very long at all. But in captivity, they can live another couple years longer than that. So I would say anywhere between 2 and 6 years. How many seahorses do we have total? Oof, I just answered that recently on our seahorse survey, and we can't remember exactly. In this exhibit, we have 5. But then we have maybe another 20 or so in holding downstairs. Okay, Clara, age 5, wants to know, how do the babies grow up if their parents don't take care of them? Just like any other fish that is born on its own, they just kind of grow up in the ocean on their own. They just will feed until they can hold on to stuff, and then they just get bigger and bigger, so they're on their own. Gavin would like to know, who are their enemies in nature? I don't know that they have enemies, but they do have predators. A lot of stuff likes to eat seahorses. When seahorses are born, they're just teeny tiny, and they're kind of pelagic, so they just float around and any fish that can see it will gobble it up. And actually cobia are a big predator of seahorses. They actually love the taste of seahorses. Andrew, age 11, what do they eat? That's a great question, so we'll circle back to that. These guys are eating enriched mysis shrimp that we get frozen and thawed out for them. But they also eat these live brine shrimp that are swimming around. I don't know if you can see them. They're really tiny. But in general, they eat small amphipods and crustaceans and little shrimps and planktons that they can pull in with their tiny little mouth. How much food do you give them each day? That's a really great question, Logan. I feed them 3 times a day, and I feed them just a little bit at a time. So this kind of pinch of mysis here and a nice pinch of live food that swims around for a while. But they don't have a true stomach to store food like you and I do, so they need to eat more constantly than we do. Can they live in freshwater aquariums? Carolyn, no, they cannot. These are saltwater fishes, purely saltwater. How many bones do they have? Grayson, that's a great question. I don't know. It's a lot. Let's see. Would like to know how old these are. Well, they are about, I want to say, coming on 3 years now. Silas wants to know if you keep the babies. That's a great question. I actually do keep the babies. When they're born, I will pull them out of this exhibit and take them downstairs to our seahorse nursery, where I try and raise up as many of the seahorses I can. We are a part of the Lined Seahorse species survival plan, and we try and raise as many seahorses as we can so as not to have to get them from the wild. These are really great questions. So if you guys have any more questions that I didn't get to today, feel free to pop them into our comments section later on today. Are they fish or what are they related to? I'll answer that last one. They are fish. Seahorses are fish, which is a great question, thanks. But we're gonna wrap it up for today. Let these seahorses get back to their midday breakfast. Thanks again so much for joining us on Facebook Live, and come back again today at 2:30 when we'll be doing a scuba dive feeding in our Chesapeake Bay Aquarium, which will be really fun to watch. I know we tried it last week and it didn't quite work out, but we're gonna get it this time. Be sure to visit us virtually with all of our natural education here on Facebook, and then on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And there's always complete updated information on our website, thevlm.org. That's THEVLM.org. Bye everybody, thank you.